Mexican joint in Mesa, Arizona. A mariachi band on the jukebox and an empty Corona. And the sun gone down and the pale thin pain. No one to talk to, all I can think is your eyes are like train smoke, your mouth tastes like rain. And I know nothing, I'll always know your name. 'Cause you're my one and only one. You're my only one. And I'm out here working in the neon lights where the temperatures are falling. It's hotel coffee, red-eye flights. Honey, I'm your midnight ringer calling. And the snow comes down from a desert sky. I'll tell everybody something, it's usually goodbye. But not you, you're my one, you're my only one. But not you, you're my one, you're my only one. You're the one I want to talk to, you're the one I know to call. You're the one that's gonna catch me when my pride leads to a fall. You're the sky full of starlings and an axe blade shining in the sun. You're the angel touched a coal against my lips. You're my only one. Now it's real to real, and the country rolls. The towns slide by like ghost repeaters. Faded billboards and big box stores, like a movie of an empty theater. You look around and wonder when the seams are gonna fail, and how dear the cost of living where everything's for sale. Except you, you're my one, you're my only one. Except you, you're my one, you're my only. And I'm all alone in a Mexican joint in Mesa, Arizona. Oh, thanks. Well, last time I was playing this series, I was opening the show for Chris Miller, a good friend of mine, and And this next tune is a tune that was the product of really trying to just do my best to rip off what he does. And this is as close as I could get. This is called Stripping Cane. There's no more room for angels to dance or even stand upon this pale and tangled and bleeding sugar from our hands, bleeding ashes from our feet. Won't you help me count my sheep? Won't you help me count my sheep tonight? You make your heart a decoration. It's like a broken violin, so carefully made empty, but taking only silence and taking saccharin to kill your pain. Won't you help me, stripping cane? Won't you help me, stripping cane tonight? A stripping cane for something sweet, a stripping cane, a man complete is born, his heart, something to hold both dark and light. A stripping cane no tongue can tell the silent ring of this empty bell, but won't you tell me fairly well? Fairly well tonight. I've got nowhere to go now. I'm like a bird in an eclipse. The grammar of our bodies is breathing a pause to our lips, breathing verses out of rhyme. Won't you help me killing time? Won't you help me killing time tonight? Now there's no more room for angels to dance or even stand upon this pin and tangled and bleeding sugar from our hands, bleeding ashes from our feet. Won't you help me count my sheep? Won't you help me count my sheep tonight? Won't you help me count my sheep tonight? Won't you help me? Thank you. The thing is, like, you start out and you hear all these people and you want to be able to play and write the way that you hear things, and you say, like, I want to be able to write a song like that, and I want to be able to play like that, and I want to be able to play this too, electric guitar, or I want to, and then you learn how to do those things, and then once you know how to do it, it's about the least interesting thing that you could possibly do. And that goes for writing as well. Like, once I figured out that I could construct a tune that worked in a given framework, in a given format, it's going to be like verse, chorus, verse, bridge, right, chorus, and like, once you know how to do it, then why the hell, what's the point?
Right.
Like, you already figured it out, so yeah. The most interesting thing is to do the things that you don't already know how to do, right, and be open to the experience of letting it totally fall apart.
Yeah.
Crazy Horse, Neil Young and Crazy Horse, one of my favorite bands to listen to, because they, not only are they capable of falling apart, but oftentimes on records they actually do fall apart.
Yeah,
and it's thrilling because you don't know what's good until you hear what's bad, and they give you both. I played up in San Jose last night. No, Santa Cruz. Sort of between San Jose and Santa Cruz. In Felton. Anybody know Felton? I played at Don Quixote's. Yeah, it's a nice joint. I liked it, and I was outside right before the show having a smoke, and this guy comes up, and he looks kind of familiar, and I started talking to him, and he's like, man, I saw you play in San Jose about 5-6 years ago, and there's like 5 people there. And I was like, yeah, I remember that show. And the reason I remember it is my dad was in the grocery business for a long time. And my dad sent somebody that he worked with long distance and had a relationship with, and we'd talk on the phone and email, and you'd see her at conferences and stuff. And so she was like 20% of the audience, and he's all proud. You got to go out and see my boy. He's playing in San Jose, and she brought 2 people. So. It's one of those, it was one of those nights, She gave me that sort of searching look as she was leaving, shook my hand real tight. And the lady that was with her slipped me a $5 bill. I was like, come on. I mean, I played for 100 people last night, I couldn't say that, so I just had to take my lumps. All of the drunks dressed up like Santa Claus ring salvation, army bells. The town square's quiet, the juke joints are empty, and everyone's buying what no one can sell. And a girl I loved once came to me last night in a dream with a secret to tell. And she whispered close, can't you hear the ocean? She leaned her ear against a shotgun shell. Dark was the night and cold was the ground. I could barely make out the song of the ghost repeaters singing hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Willie Mae's crying out the toll booth to heaven with a bottle of gin and a gold-toothed smile, where the dreams pile up, washed out and broken, thick as the stars on the Miracle Mile. But the movie's over now, the theater is empty, and the credits are starting to roll. And the wages have sent don't adjust for inflation. It's a buyer's market when you sell your soul. Dark was the night, cold was the ground. I could barely make out the song of the ghost repeaters singing hallelujah. His truth is marching on. The plaza's dark and the picadors are dreaming of blood in the alleys and rust on the vines. They sandbag the bulls and prop up the matadors. It's a sweetheart contract, they're taking their time. And all the ghost prisoners who aren't in the ghost prisons don't weep at the sound of your name. They just stare up at the clouds of passenger pigeons winging back home to the cities of the plain. And dark was the night, cold was the ground. I could barely make out the song of the ghost repeaters singing hallelujah. His truth is marching on. The star up above the Fifth Avenue Christmas tree shines tonight in the cold and the rain. It lights up the faces in the live nativity down on the floor of the stock exchange, where dark is the night, cold is the ground. The armies march out to defend, and the ghost repeaters of the revelators sang peace on earth, goodwill to all men. Thank you. We pushed back at JFK and watched our country fall away. Two lovers chasing ours into the dark, who blacked their boots and locked the doors, and now for richer and poorer go vagabond and wild as a spark. It was a civilized affair. You wore flowers in your hair, and your mother's dress so white against your skin. And the stars of pale blue above the morning found a new nameless country where we knew we'd never been. And we raised the valleys down through the sleepy little towns, blind as any traveler you could meet. And they took us as we came, no one even asked our names. Two Americans in corduroys kissing in the middle of the street. Back home behind closed doors, the bread and circus roars, and they turn the volume up and pull down the shade, but on the cobbles in the square, people laugh and smoke and stare, and no one looks to me like they're afraid. And at home the trees are turning red and gold, the leaves are burning, ruined apples fall, too heavy, too sweet. But right here the birds are calling and the early stars are falling for Americans in corduroys kissing in the middle of the street. Trading evening for midday, we touched down at JFK, and our country rose to meet us in the air. With all its beauty and its lust, its diamond teeth and heart of dust that beats inside us, though we travel anywhere, anywhere.
Thank you. Like when you create art, of any kind of art, you know, like if you're creating, like we were saying, you know, paintings or sculptures or poems or anything like that, you don't have to tell, sometimes you might tell the truth, like, you know, this happened and then this happened and this happened. It might happen to be true, but it doesn't matter if it's true as long as it tells the truth on a given level, that it tells some through line of truth that's there's a big bell curve of human perception, and the middle part of that bell curve, the big fat middle, everybody's going to be able to find that one thing that you're telling that's true. They're going to find it resonant. You're hoping that you do, and you succeed. Any kind of art succeeds if it tells the truth.
It's funny, while I was playing that song, Americans in Corduroys, I was thinking about, it was about 3 weeks ago, I got home from a trip. I was traveling around in Europe, and I played about a week in Italy. And in that song, Americans in Corduroys, I wrote it in Italy when I was traveling around on my honeymoon. And they didn't know that, but they really liked that song, which I thought was funny. And every night somebody would come up to me after the show and they would be like, "I really like this song, Americans in Corduroys." And inevitably the next question they would ask would be, "What is corduroys?" And it was such a letdown to tell them that it was pants. You know? I mean, oftentimes when you're making art, the mystery is much more exciting than the fact, you know.
There's a cross of flowers on the roadside where some fool bought it 2 years back. And there's an orchard gone to hell beside a burned out one-room shack. And there's 1,000 sparrows falling in 1,000 shades of black. I'm coming home. There's a steeple on the skyline, like a single iron nail. And there's a windmill doing nothing, and a low moan on the rails. coal train takes a corner, as the light begins to fail, I'm coming home. Now I'm coming home. There's a red barn in the half-light, and there's a white frost in the shade, and in the bars down off the main drag, they're drinking down what they got paid. And I wonder, in all of this leaving, if I ever could have stayed. Oh, I'm coming home, and I'm coming home. There's a junked out car in the tall grass, and it's never gonna sell. And Jimmy's raising daughters, and Jack's out raising hell. And I always said I loved you, never said I loved you well, but I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. And I'm coming.
Oh, thank you.
The first maybe year or 2 years when I was traveling, I figured out that because I was nervous that I was, my first record was full of these like dark, slow, meditative songs, and I was worried that I was going to bum everybody out, so I would try to come up with clever things to say. And but if you say those things every night, you're not being the real
Sincere,
deal,
right.
And so you start to really not like yourself, and then you have to so you get painted into a corner, and the trick is leaping out of the corner every time, and you get better at it as you go along, and then after a while it's very freeing, and you can, if you don't feel like talking, don't talk.
Dead before the sun could rise, I stole the silver off my lover's eyes and rolled out on the dark demise of midnight breaking day. Well, I was born full grown, raised up wild, all mortal bones and passions piled on my head, the blessed child, the father of the man. cut my hair, caught a train to Jackson. I took a name, I found the range where my voice could make no sound. I met a man, he told me, sir, I can see you're on the run. If you tell me where you're going, I'll tell you where you're bound. Well, they put me off outside of town with a cold black rain coming down. I laid my head on the red clay ground, slept for 1,000 years. And I woke into a fever dream where silence talked, money screamed, and nothing was, but only seemed, and nobody seemed to care. Cut my teeth on the bread of pure temptation. I tried it all, I learned to fall like I'd never hit the ground. I met a ghost, he looked like me. I asked him, is it plain to see, or is it hidden? He never made a sound. I was a lion in a circus ring, scarecrow dressed up like a king, innocent of anything like love. I was going blind. So I set all my clothes on fire, sold my soul in and bare. I wrapped my heart in concertina wire and showed it for a song. Couldn't run, man, I ran until I stumbled. Struck out along a rolling stone. 40 days came up and down. I chased the river to the source. I met a girl on a pale horse, and she pressed her fingers up against my lips. I fell down dead and gone. Thanks, everybody.
When you play by yourself, it's oftentimes you have to work really hard for the experience of playing your own music not to be a rote experience where you know how to play the song. You start here and you get to hear, and you know all the steps in between, and it loses interest for you unless you find new ways to get through it. And
Right.
and finding new ways is like that's a big task, and you have to try to do it, and it helps to drag your guitar out and play a little bit in the hotel room. When you play solo, there are only so many ways that you can invent a tune, over and over again. You fall back on rote material, things that work, even against your best intentions. If you want to change everything about a tune and try to find a new door and make it new to you, like it's going to be new to the people that you're playing it for. But that doesn't always work, So by nature, when you play with another human being, it's always new. You're inventing something. It's conversational.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. It's much more musical and artistic and entertaining. Yeah.
my ticket was bought. We stayed up through the night. We made love and then we fought. And on some stranger's town, today I heard your name. And it flickered and went out like a careless flame. I still see and close up, I still feel all around. Oh, but love, your voice, that's a faraway sound. You're the shadow slipping sideways, the hum inside of my mind. Every day I wake to forget you. One more time, and on some stranger's tongue. Today I heard your name, and it flickered and went out like a careless flame. And it flickered and went out like a careless flame. And it flickered and went out like a careless flame. of flesh and bone and bright. Well, I know it isn't Idaho. I know it isn't Idaho. Horses, heart, blood, or wine. That's the color of the sun when it's dying. Down over the river, down over the river, down over the river, down over the river.
Oh, thanks. It's called Idaho. I used to try to figure out. We were on tour with a 6-piece band all spring, and everybody wants you to be on the form and paying attention to the key. And I just have a hard time doing that. I can either be completely present and focus on all those things, like how does everybody feel, and am I attending to all the particulars of a tune, or I can play electric guitar, get really far in it, screw the form, and just make odd changes and stuff. And I would rather do the second thing, and these guys are totally willing to let me just flail around. So.
Right on.
I've got a girl named Apolline, the prettiest thing I've ever seen. No fire burns so cool or so clean as mine, Apolline. Oh my shadow, and I sing the hunger of mercy and the violence of dreams and the rainbows that shine on spilled gasoline. Nothing shines like Apolline. Nothing shines like Apolline. Take me as I am, this bloodshot blue midnight like a tattoo on my skin. You tell me you love me, will you tell me again? Tell me one more time. Selling heart attacks on credit and shadows on the screen, and they'll grind your bones to dust in this American machine, where the firemen trade their water, yeah, for kerosene. But I'll never trade my airplane. Never trade my airplane. Never trade
Like in the, there's a great little part in the Grapes of Wrath where all the Okies are jungled up somewhere on the outside of town. They got all their, they're all, nobody would let them be in town without arresting them for vagrancy. And there's just a real short little piece in there about a guy who pulls up a guitar to the campfire, and how that guy has this sort of it's a, what does he call it? It's a gracious thing. If the guy doesn't just chunk out chords, but he's a picker,
right?
Then everybody sort of leans in a little bit more, and there's a thing, and he captures something. He's got this, that's always gonna happen.
Well, we'll play you a new song. This is a song about a night a bunch of years ago when we had a gig in Des Moines, Iowa. I picked up Eric at the airport. So we got there and they said, you guys are on in like 15 minutes. And we thought we were going to get to eat dinner, for example. So instead of eating dinner, we drank 3 beers real fast. And then we went up on stage and we played this show.
That night in the morning, the gone streets of night, sunset buildings cut with shade. We sent our smoke up through the streetlights. We sent our prayers out through an old PA. That night in the morning, that night in the morning, we were too late for supper, so we sat at the bar and we drank 3 beers, and we watched the house filling up with no one. But God was listening, and he cupped his ears. That night in the morning, that night in the morning, picked you up at the airport, threw your rig in the backseat, and I shook your hand, and the heat from the asphalt, it was liquid and dancing, and we walked to the front door like a rock and roll band. That night in the morning, stole a whole new day. And the lights on the big trucks were like on-camera traces on I-80 at midnight. There was nothing to say.
Your song Des Moines.
Yeah, new one.
Yeah, really, that one really grabbed me tonight.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. You know, it's been interesting. I just sent it to Eric before I even knew we were going to do this gig together because he had played the gig. And I was like, does this song make sense? Because what I was trying to do, well, a couple of things. I wanted to tell, there's a feeling that happens when everything is right, and it's rare, but you know, for whatever reason, we walked up on stage and we had a set that was just elevated, you know. Something about it was sort of perfect. Time slowed down, and we both knew it, and we were afraid to look at each other because we might, you know, we might acknowledge the fact and then jinx it. So we're playing the show, and we had a great time doing it. There's 9 people in the audience, I think, right? In the middle of Des Moines on the hottest day you can imagine. And somehow the particulars of that night had stood out in my mind, and so I found an old notebook where I wrote that first verse about, you know, standing around smoking on the street in Des Moines. And I wanted to tell the story by painting all of the details around the middle of the story, because there's something that happens on stage that you can't talk about. I mean, you could get metaphorical if you wanted to. You could, you know, you could try to find similes for, you know, the sound of the pedal steel or all those things, but I couldn't find a way to tell it. And there are a lot of things that are untellable, so I tried to just triangulate the thing that I was after by telling the things that sort of surrounded it, small details and that sort of thing. And then, you know, on the Dylan record, Blood on the Tracks, there's a thing that he does on a lot of those tunes where he changes pronouns, like a song like...
Yeah, he, from she to...
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he was painting a lot at the time, and he was interested in, it's my understanding, he was interested in the way that you look at a canvas. Everything is happening all at once. Right, and your understanding of the painting is determined by where the focus of your eyes goes. So what he was trying to do was force you to disarticulate your understanding of the song temporally, you know, in terms of the chronological sequence of events, and then also in terms of who was doing what and when they were doing it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do a little bit of that too. So the way that story works, you know, you start out and we're standing on the street, you know, smoking, and then I mentioned that we go to the club, and then we back up and I'm picking up Eric at the airport, and then by the time we get out of the solo section, and then we're back on I-80 driving to his mom's house. Right? His mom still lives in Mount Vernon, and we were going to go crash at her place because we had to play Iowa City the next day. You know? And so I sent it to both Eric and to a good friend of mine, a poet named Chris Dombrowski, and who I admire his work quite a bit. And just asked him, did I do it, you know, like, does this work? Do I need to add another section musically, you know? Does it make sense to just kind of keep pounding on this one, you know, sort of, it's not modal, but it's in this drop D form that sort of, at the best it could be hypnotic, and at the worst it could be, you know, boring, you know, whatever. So they both said it was cool, and I was like, all right, well, we'll try playing it on this tour, and then
that one,
see if, you know, you always find out what happens, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
I bought this guitar in Corvallis for $300 in November. I was on tour. And if it means that my wife won't find out about it, I would be willing to sell it to you for like $400. Just putting it out there.
Samson, read about his boots. He was the strongest man ever lived on the earth. One day Samson was walking along, looked on the ground and saw an old jawbone, and lifted up that jawbone and swung it over his head. When he got to moving, there were 10,000 dead. If I had my way, if I had my way, if I had my way, you know On Samson's knees, she said, tell me where your strength lies, if you please. She talks so fine, she talks so fair. Samson said, Delilah, cut off my hair, shave my head, clean as you had, and my strength held me like a natural man. If I had my way, if I had my way, if I had my way, you know I'd tear the building down.
Thanks a lot, everybody. We had a great time. Again, it's Mr. Eric Haywood on the pedal steel electric guitar, and Mr. Billy Conway on the drums. And my name's Jeffrey Foucault. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks to Ron, Caroline, everybody who works here. Does such a great job putting on a show. It's a special thing to have a place like this. You know, come check out music. We'll close up with a new song. It's a good one for the end of a set. It's called "I Left This Town." So thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Said you felt the same.
this town. I said I'll lift this town. Oh, thanks everybody. We had a ball. And we'll hope to see you again.